What is going on, everyone? And happy Wednesday and happy April 1st. We are finally into the month of April, and we're so glad you guys could join us today. There is an Orioles game going on, which we'll talk about probably as it ends here pretty soon, but we got some other things to get to on this Wednesday afternoon. One, there were some cool moments. So there's one player, or I should say player, broadcaster, but you hear him every time the Ravens play. He made a big announcement today. We will talk about that in just a moment. And still a big topic around Major League Baseball is the umpires. And that will maybe be a part of what the poll is today. But umpires are still having a rough go. We got some examples for you to talk about. And then in between here, we'll have a recap of this O's Rangers series, discuss really the good, the bad, and what needs some improvement. But mainly there's one big issue that's probably one of the talking points that we will share later. But I think everyone that's watched games, you might know what that is for the Baltimore Orioles. Will Carroll of Under the Knife and Injury Territory, he's going to join us to talk about some of the injuries. Specifically, if you watched last night's game, Zach Eflin left in the fourth. What does it mean? What could you expect? And also maybe looking around the rest of the league, because there were some other injuries to start off this season. And yeah, we'll pick up some O's talk. We'll go around baseball. We'll finish with the poll talk, and then you might see a little studio pup thrown in here and there. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We do this live Monday through Friday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Zach.
O's win.
Oh, they won? It's over.
Yeah, they just literally 16 seconds ago got the final out. So back in the win column, back to 500. What a fun game. What a fun game. Exactly what they needed. Unfortunately, overachieved a little bit. Last night, I tried to put my powers to the test. I said, you know what? I said 8 before, and they scored 8. I said 7 this time. They scored 8. So overperformed a little bit, but back in the win column. That's all that matters. Some great team ball today out of everyone. And shout out Albert Suarez for coming in, picking up the last 3 innings, saving that bullpen. Good win. Good win. All-around team win. We'll get more into it as we go through.
Little Big Al. Big Al, baby. Dude, he just comes up. He just gets right off the bus or the flight, wherever he came in from Norfolk, and said, hey, you need 3 from me? I got you. And the Orioles then salvage getting swept. We'll discuss all of that. They sit at 3-3. So for people that are joining in, we will continue these conversations. Don't you worry. But why don't we start off with a little bit of a cool moment? Because in Baltimore, if you've been listening to the Ravens for the last 20 years or you're watching the local news, there has been one staple with that. It has been the voice of the Ravens. That's what it's been coined. It's Mr. Gerry Sandusky. It's been announced that he is retiring. And I thought, I'll be honest, Zach, it is April 1st too. So I thought, I thought
there was a chance. It was such a shocking news drop that I did consider that it was April Fool's Day.
I mean, it felt, when I saw the news, I even got a text about that. Hey, this can't be a serious thing, right? And I'm like, I think it is. Or everyone's getting duped because WBAL put it out, the Ravens put it out, then Adam Schefter is quote tweeting, retweeting, whatever the correct terms are nowadays. So for Gerry Sandusky, it's been an illustrious career for him. And a little backstory. If you guys want to go back to the beginning of my media start, I did Off Script with Rip. One of my first interviews I did was with Gerry Sandusky in my mom's living room. And Gerry, through that whole process for that interview, while I was getting going, still trying to figure out what the hell I was doing, he was so vocal and helpful in the process. He wanted to teach. He wanted me to learn. He didn't want me to be discouraged. And I appreciate the friendship, and I'm so happy that he got to have the career that he had hoped for. And there's some really cool stories, Zach, I was going to try to pull, and maybe I'll pull that for tomorrow's show. But Gerry has some stories that when you look back and you think about the journey and how you can relate to it, Gerry, to get to where he got to was really fun to see. And the determination to get there, I think a lot of people can respect and love. So Congratulations to Gerry Sandusky on a hell of a career.
Hay's in the barn.
The hay is officially in the barn. I wonder what, I'm not going to go there. I don't even want to imagine. I still can't get over it. I still think it's an April Fool's joke, but I digress. There will be a new voice of the Ravens unless we get a April Fool's before the end of the day. So it'll be a new day when that time comes, when we find that out. But for today, it's still rough days ahead for umpires, Zach. Once again, we are a week into the season, officially a week, and umpires are still at the forefront of the discussion. But in this case, Zach, it wasn't ABS related for these two. These were just blown calls specifically. And I think, do you have a photo of the CB Buckner just, to give people some context here of what we're discussing?
Yeah, so pretty much what happens, to give context on why these screenshots are so egregious, is there was a play last night where ball gets hit in the outfield, a little chaos kind of goes on, and they're throwing home, guys safe everywhere, and then suddenly CB Buckner rules, hey, no, we got something wrong. This guy's out. He missed first base completely. So they decided, hey, or I guess this one is, let's look at this. Yeah. Let's look on this one. And I think it is safe to say, although maybe close, I want to go to this angle as well. I'm going to say, off of a hunch, I think he hit first base pretty cleanly. And here's the issue on this one. In this photo, CB Buckner is not looking at the base. He is looking at the play at home. Like, he is looking at the play at home. So right here, he's saying, hey, they missed first. CB, unfortunately, I think you missed the play. This is not the best look. Here's the other angle as you see the ball flying home.
Yeah, I don't know if it's indisputable.
Yeah, that one.
I'm surprised they overturned that one yesterday. Hey, look, we talked about it when it comes to being an umpire, especially calling pitches. It's a job that I don't envy, because we see the fractions that you can be off by, the centimeters. And you know what? I think players or umpires deserve, the respect on that level. But this is where it gets a little bit more problematic. And luckily now you can have the challenge. But what if, the Brewers are out of challenges and they can't do this, and that's a part right there that it's a simple play. There was no controversy. It just was not watched. You're the first base umpire. You know what you need to watch on the play, on the a play at first? You need to watch first base. And so I don't know if you can get any more of the base than that. But that's one topic. And CB Buckner obviously had a lot of calls overturned the other day. And it's been a rough go for CB, because then today, Zach, he took a foul ball 100 miles an hour off the mask.
Yeah.
So and I hope he's okay, right? Health, first and foremost, hope he's okay. But it's been a rough stretch of days here for CB Buckner, but he's not the only one that's having trouble. Zach, did you see what happened with the Red Sox and Astros game? Did you hear about that one?
Listen, I'm bad at math. I'm horrible at math. Something I pride myself on, though, Ryan, is I know I can at least count to 3.
Yeah. So for those that are wondering if we want to put 2 and 2 together, the Red Sox are playing the Astros, and Cam Smith is batting for the Astros. And there's a swinging strike on the first pitch, and I believe the second swing and miss, runner was stealing, ball got away, and it's 0-2. I want to emphasize that. It's 0-2. But I guess because of the stolen base, they forgot that there was 2 strikes, and then Cam Smith misses again, but no one reacts. Specifically, the umpire doesn't react. But Zach, I don't know what's more concerning, that the umpire forgot that there was 3 strikes, or that the entire field of play forgot, and the dugouts. No one said anything. And so the at-bat continues, and Cam Smith ends up walking after striking out on 3 pitches, which math is hard sometimes, Zach. Believe me, math is not, used to be my strong suit. It's not anymore. But here it is. Swinging strike, swinging strike, swinging strike. 1, 2, 3. Foul ball. So it's 4 pitches that were all strikes, by the way. And it ends in a 9-pitch walk without one ball being registered on the first 4 pitches.
Yeah.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Very bold strategy. That's for sure. And then I like how at the end the ump was like, yeah, I missed that. I wish someone would have told us. Well, the Astros weren't. If anything, I'll say this. Umpire obviously needs to get there. This is one of those things that can't happen. Like you said, was no one in the Red Sox dugout paying attention of like...
Even Bayo throwing.
Yeah, like... That's 3 straight swing and misses. Like that's 3, right? Like, did we think it had to be with the double steal? Everything got thrown off. But that, like, yeah.
I think above all, Brian Bayo, specifically as the pitcher, and as a hitter and a pitcher, I feel like you always are very aware of how many swings and misses, and because you're watching each and every pitch, you're involved in that. So it was shocking. The whole play was shocking, and there could be a lot of blame for how that was. I do want to shout out after the game, and I thought I had the umpire's name here, and I apologize. He came on and said in the report, I messed that up, and I hate it. Like he said it, my bad, not good enough. I love that. Thank you for that. For the Red Sox in general, that no one on your team recognized that either, that's a fault in their own. And the Red Sox are off to a slow start. And Ron Hare Suarez, who pitched the other night, Ron Hare, that was his first start. And by the way, guys, he wasn't fully ramped up from the World Baseball Classic, and he's trying to play a little catch-up here. That's a different situation. But the Red Sox, big decision. But, Zach, I know it's going to be in the poll, and we'll get into it more as it goes. But when moments like this and instances happen, I love the human element of the game. I love having people call the plays. But what I don't like is if the people are missing calls that they should never miss. CB Buckner, that's a call that should never happen at first base. Behind the dish, that should never happen. And if it does, someone in that umpiring crew, somebody say something. Anything. I was going to say, have you ever seen The Moment in Friends, which you haven't?
No.
So Ross, his wife, Emily, says that she'll move to the States, but Ross can never see Rachel. You know, Rachel Green, Jennifer Aniston, can never see her again. And Ross is asking his friends, I don't know what to do here, asking them. And he goes, I'm actually asking you, what do I do? Communication is so key in the game. And for umpires, Zach, you have a team. That's one thing I don't understand, how everybody missed that specific call. But it's going to be a talking point, because the more and more that calls get missed that they shouldn't, it's going to lead to a conversation of, should we just make this all automated as much as possible? And if that happens, that does take away a little bit of that human element, but it will erase the error. And I'm not for taking away the full human element, but I am for making sure that we get calls that you must get right. Don't have to be perfect, but some of these calls were far from perfect.
Yeah, and I agree with Spirit Bum right here. Shout out Cam Smith. He had to be just as confused as anyone, because you also can't look too suspicious.
He didn't go off to the dugout.
Yeah, because like if you start walking away and then you're like, oh, because then people are like, wait, how many was that actually? Let's think about this real fast. Maybe he didn't know.
So I know Brian Bayo made some hell of some pitches there.
Yeah, I mean, look at the location.
3-8-2-4. Are you kidding me? That dude's got some good stuff, by the way.
Should have been a strikeout.
That was a great walk. Way to work, kid.
Yeah, way to go, Cam. The unwritten, I guess, unknown rule of stay in there even if they strike you out. It's like the never mind.
You want to know? Continue.
No, gotta say, like, just they can't make you leave. Like if you are in the batter's box, make them physically take you out of the batter's box. Just simple as that.
You know, we've usually seen an umpire or somebody remove a player, Albert Bell, getting drilled. I didn't get it. That's hey, Albert.
Well, that was
did.
a little different.
It's very different because it was so obvious. But also, you would think striking out on 3 pitches is pretty obvious as well.
After strike one's down the middle, and then you swung and missed at the next 2. No,
there's more than one umpire on the field.
Yeah,
but also Brian Bayo as a pitcher. If I knew I had a punchy, I'm making sure we are checking that's a punchy and through more pitches. But time will tell, Zach. But umpires, unfortunately, they're in the news for the wrong reasons to start the year. And that is that. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Are you okay before we bring
before we just, I guess we got confirmation the Ravens are playing in Brazil in week 3. I hate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't we'll deep dive into that one later on. We'll go behind the lens and curtain there to see what that all entails. But for now, it's still baseball and we're a week in. And baseball and any sport, it's not a matter of if people get hurt, it's when. And unfortunately, we've seen some tough injuries. If you're watching the Blue Jays the other day, Cody Ponce.
I don't know if I want to say it's
Cody's first out into the year and has a really tough looking knee injury. And you're wondering what the diagnosis is. And then Zach Eflin, if you're an Orioles fan, you watched it last night. He couldn't get through the 4th, through a curveball. They took him out of the game. He's on the IL with elbow discomfort. So we said, you know what? Why don't we reach out to Will Carroll? Because he has what?
It is Ponce.
It's Ponce?
Yeah, I looked up the pronunciation. Let's make sure we get that correct.
Cody Ponce. My mistake, Cody. But I was on under the knife checking out Will's diagnosis and all the insights there. So I got the newsletter. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this explains a lot more. So I'm a little bit afraid, Will, of what you might be telling me in a second when it comes to Zach Eflin. But, Will, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to rock and roll. Let's do it. Guys, let's bring on Will Carroll with Under the Knife. And, Will, I believe you have another line of work that you're working with now. Tell us a little bit more about Injury Territory.
Yeah, we just started up Injury Territory. I'm sure you know the guys over at Foul Territory. They realized, hey, these guys get injured all the time. We started off the season with an outbreak of hamate injuries, and now, unfortunately, we've gotten into that part of the season where we're getting quirky injuries, we're getting elbow injuries, we're starting to see some of the rehab guys come back, and I cover all that on both Under the Knife and Injury Territory.
So you're staying busy, and that's a good thing for you that you're able to stay busy and give insights, and it's just a part of the game. You know, you wish everyone could stay healthy, but it's not how this game works. And there was some moments, and today on April 1st, with Cody specifically with the Blue Jays, that looked really worrisome when you watched it. But so far, and when I'm looking at it right now, I got my email up, sprained knee. So for those that didn't see the play, could you explain and then a little bit of what I'm talking about here so people can get the insight?
Yeah, this was a tough one. You know, he's a great story coming back from 5 years over in Asia. He really turned his pitching around, got a big contract to be really the 4 or 5 with what was expected to be a great Blue Jays rotation. They signed Dylan Cease. They have Yasavich. They have Barrios. They have Gausman up there. But now, poof, most of it's gone. Ponce just he took a wrong step on a fielding play, and his knee gave out. It is a knee sprain. It's somewhere between a grade 2 and 3. He's headed to see Dr. Neil Elitrosh in LA. All likelihood is it's going to be reconstructed and that he's out for the season. It's just too bad. It's one of those things. I'm starting to think that pitchers just shouldn't field. We see guys pop an Achilles. We see guys break an ankle. At some point, do you tell them, hey, just stand there, defend yourself, but maybe not field?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, pitchers always hate when I get on them as a position player with that. And sometimes there are some great ones that are getting off the mound. And some of them, it's not their strong suit. But yesterday, or the day when Cody was pitching, and you watched it also, how you just mentioned, he was one of the best stories I thought of the offseason. You get that deal, you're going to a great team. He's so excited. And earlier on in that outing, right, he had fallen down, throwing the pitch.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of goofiness, and to see it kind of unfold there was really hard. But I'm glad that you mentioned about the specifics of a sprain and the grade levels from a guy that had a grade 3 ankle sprain. What that means is there's a tear if it's a grade 3. And at the bottom here of this is your words saying before we had anything about the MRI, yes, a sprain is a tear, people. My work here is not done, but the question is the ligament functional and will it heal without reconstruction? And that was before getting more information. So, Will, you're keeping up to date with all of this. And
if I can, Ryan, let me jump in on what a sprain is. A sprain is an injury to a ligament. And any injury to a ligament is going to have tearing of the fiber. It's a question of how much. So any sprain, even the lightest little sprain, that time you played pickup basketball and just rolled your ankle a little bit and walked it off, that was a sprain. That creates tearing. It's small. A grade 2, it's bigger. It's a chunk out of it. And sometimes that's not good enough to hold up, and that's a grade 3. That's what most people think of as tear. They say, oh, it's not torn, it's sprained. They're thinking the word rupture. It's not just torn anymore. Now it's ruptured. There is a difference between tear and rupture. There is not a difference between sprain and tear. Same thing with a muscle strain. With a tendon, with a muscle, a strain is a tearing of that muscle or tendon.
And I appreciate the clarity on that. And the higher the number, the more severe it is for those that put it all of it together. And for Cody's sake, unfortunately, with Toronto, it was just an awkward play from the start. Yeah. Knee was in a bad position, and that was just really unfortunate with how it went down. And hopefully, knock on wood, he'll make a full recovery. But it looks like for that moment, it's a big loss for the Toronto Blue Jays as we move forward. And since we're talking about strains and sprains, why don't we pivot here to a different part around the elbow? Because let's specifically go to Zach Eflin's elbow, where throws the pitch, immediately training staff comes out, they look at it, and after the game, Craig Albanez saying, he's going to be on the IL. They're saying it's right elbow discomfort. So walk me through the right elbow discomfort. I got a pretty good idea of what the options could be, but I think you're best of explaining what Oriole fans here could be bracing for depending on what the MRI comes back to.
Yeah. There's two things here. First, we have to remember there's a lot of structures in there. The minute you hear elbow injury, it is not necessarily the UCL. It's often the UCL, but the flexor tendon is in there. We've seen weird injuries. Jose Barrios, who I mentioned a bit ago, has a stress reaction in his elbow. We've seen fractured elbows this year. There are a ton of things in there. That said, it's often the UCL, and that's the so-called Tommy John ligament. It is a very small ligament. It's reconstructed in Tommy John surgery, or one of the variants that we're seeing now. I've got a big article coming on what Shohei Ohtani actually had done, which he still hasn't acknowledged. So with Eflin, there's a couple things here. We're waiting on the MRI. That's going to be the tell. That 99% tells us exactly what's going on. But remember, the athletic trainers, the therapists, the doctors who are there, they have their hands on him. They know what his elbow feels like and can go through manual tests. Unfortunately, too many football fans know what an Achilles injury looks like. You see it, you go, oh, that's an Achilles. From the second that happens, if that Achilles is ruptured, you do what's called a squeeze test. You squeeze the calf, see if the foot moves. It's the simplest manual test in all of athletic training. You don't need an MRI. You need an MRI because, insurance requires it. There are tests. There's one called the milking test. I don't want to show people how to do it. Plus, it's tough to do it on yourself. But the milking test is one that's done for the UCL. I'm telling you, they probably know. They're waiting on the MRI. But things don't look good. The fact that they put him on the IL so quickly and made the move with Jordan Westberg, they had to do a little bit of roster juggling there to get I don't know who up. I haven't seen who's coming up and added to the 40-man. But this doesn't look good for Eflin. The one thing I do want to talk about is that last year he had the back injury. He had shoulder injuries before. He was having injuries that were moving down the kinetic chain. The body has to transfer force up. You push off with your leg, it all comes up and it comes out theoretically as much as possible to the ball, and then you have to disperse that force. This is going up the kinetic chain. And when we see something either go, normally he's having problems down the chain and suddenly it goes up, that's a problem. Other way, if you see somebody who has a shoulder, then an elbow, and all of a sudden they have a back, their kinetic chain is just out of whack. They're not absorbing the forces. So that's another bad sign for Eflin.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. And we have one of our guys here, Dr. Yoni, and we've talked about the kinetic chain. And actually another pitcher that people have brought up with having a back injury and then having some elbow or shoulder was Grayson Rodriguez, who known for a while. Him and I were together in the Orioles organization. It seems, well, not going to point to saying that one thing leads to another, but there is something to when guys have to deal with one thing, it very well can lead. And in this case, we don't want to jump to it, but it's definitely what you're saying is it's very well in the realm of possibility that this has a connection.
It definitely has a connection. It goes back to that old song we sang as kids. The knee bone's connected to the hip bone. The backbone isn't directly connected to the elbow bone, but the connect chain is a chain. It will find the weak link. And if you fix one thing, if you haven't figured out how to transfer all that force and dissipate it, something else is going to break. Another guy from the area, Steven Strasburg, was the perfect one for this. He had a shoulder injury. Well, first he had the elbow, then he had a shoulder, a trap, a lat, and then a back injury. And I was just like, for God's sakes, he's just taking every train stop on the kinetic train. That was as easy an example. But the other thing you have to think about, and that the Orioles probably know, is there are so many tools they have now, whether it's Hawkeye, whether it's Kinetrax, whether it's some of the motion capture systems that are just cameras now. They have data on how people are moving. So did Eflin change the way he was moving? Did he change his release point? Was he not rotating quite as much or as fast? They have this data on all the pitchers. I think they have Hawkeye all the way down to AA this year. They have it in their labs. They have it a recent one, Jacob deGrom threw in the bullpen where they had a Kinetrax device. They didn't like what they saw, so they held him out, let his neck get a little more comfortable. However that happened, slept wrong. But he came out last night, looked like Jacob deGrom. So those tools do work, and it's just more and more information that the athletic trainers, the doctors, the sports performance staff, and even the GMs have to learn to integrate into their decisions.
And that's the part where you can make the difference in educated decisions on what to do with pitching. And with all the information, it can be an overload, right, Will? Because there's so much. But if you find the right thing that can help on the preventative side and you know how to use it best, that's the ultimate goal. And one thing I wanted to talk about from a metric side, so I'm curious your thought. I was doing a breakdown with Masson on the game during spring training that Zach Eflin was throwing. And we were looking at his arm angle over the last 3 years, where it was 33 and it got all the way down to 24 degrees of the arm angle changing over a 2.5 year period. And now he's saying his back felt well, and maybe he was getting back to whatever his comfortable spot could be. So factoring that in, with just how his body was maybe now rotating more normally, it could have put more tension and pressure on that spot.
Yep, absolutely could have. And we see that regularly. We are seeing more pitchers do pitch design in the offseason, try to make their sweepers sweep more, make their sliders slide more, make their sinker a screwball. Let's face it, that's what they are these days. But we are seeing guys change their angles. We are seeing guys change more in their mechanics. And people have always said, it's really, really hard to do this. I can remember going all the way back. I was working with a team, and we had a really young all-star pitcher. I think I can say now. It was Felix Hernandez. If you remember, he had that head whack, and his hat would actually fly off. Part of that was his hat was too big. But the other was he just had that weird motion. And I was like, turned to the pitching coach and said, when are you going to fix that? And he's like, fix what? He's an all-star. He's going to be rookie of the year. He might be a Hall of Famer. Why am I going to fix that? It's difficult to change what somebody's done for as long as they've done it. Think about how many swings you've taken in your life. Altering that is tough. Hitters are a little more willing to tinker. Golfers are tinkering just because it's a Tuesday. Pitchers, less so. But we're seeing a little bit more of that. So I'm curious if the kind of things that are going into pitch design can go into biomechanical design and preventative design and keep some of these pitchers from taking those long flights out to see Dr. Elitrosh.
Yeah, I'd like to see less of those flights for everyone's sake.
But there is an in and out right by his office. So I don't hate going out there.
Okay. Well, Zach, I think you had a follow-up here with all this discussions, baseball, injury. What do you got for Will?
Yeah, well, we kind of talk on this show a lot about kind of what you've said and just all the pitching injuries and stuff. For you and, what you see, is there a way that you think maybe pitchers can lessen the risk of injuries throughout a season? Because we talk about all the things they do in the off season. Is there, in your opinion, something that, hey, maybe if pitchers started doing this, maybe it takes some of the risk factor away?
Yes, absolutely. The simple answer is workload. Yeah, if you follow the NBA, you've heard load management, and it's used almost as a pejorative now. It comes to think of players playing less. Over the last probably 20 years, when I was at Baseball Prospectus, two guys, Keith Woolner, now with the Guardians, Rennie Gisarelli, who's one of the top dermatologists in the country, oddly enough, came up with a stat called pitcher abuse point. Every pitch after 100 costs more. It was more and more fatigue. Somehow, we've gotten away from that. We solved that problem of overwork, but now we're at underwork. It got to be 100 pitches and people would come out. The only way you progress is to do more and more load and to control that load. If you're going to bench press 300 pounds, you don't just strap it on and hope you can get it back up. You're going to start with 100 pounds and 120 and 150, unless you're Ryan. He looks like he can probably do it right now. But if you go out there and throw 100 pitches, you're training yourself to throw 100 pitches. If you keep building up, if you can recover after 100, why can't you do 110? If you can do 110, there's probably guys out there who were like, Duque Hernandez, who'd go out there and throw 150 pitches at 80% effort, and he could probably come back the next day. We've seen guys like Yamamoto. That wasn't an accident that he was able to come back without a day's rest because he did the right recovery. It's something that he takes very, very seriously. We need to have every pitcher out there, starting at the youth level, taking those very seriously. It's not rest, it's recovery. It's not load management, it's work management. It shouldn't be less pitches as the answer to every injury. It should be, how do we get you to more?
And everyone's path to get there is different. And that's the emphasis I want to throw out there. What works for Will is not the same for Zach. And what's for Zach and Will might be different for me, but that's the puzzle that you try to have to figure out. Real quick, since you're on the load management side here, or building yourself up, one of the talking points that at least that I noticed, the Orioles weren't expecting Eflin to be ready for the season. There was some doubts, but he was looking so good that they said, yeah, you're going to run with it. And I mean, he built up to have 73 pitches, but I guess what I'm wondering, Will, I'm assuming that it wasn't a fully normal off season for Zach because you're recovering. Does that also factor into this situation of trying to do too much too early, even if you necessarily feel good, towards the end of spring training?
Yes and no. Just because you feel good doesn't mean everything is good. But the Orioles are a smart organization. They're one of the more advanced organizations. They got really smart people. They've got a really good medical staff. I don't think they were rushing him just because he said he felt good, because every pitcher says he felt good. Nobody goes out to the mound and says, I feel like crap, take the ball. It's one of those situations where I'm sure they had evidence. I'm sure they saw what they were wanting to see. And I think at some point that does have to guide you. If you're able to pitch, you should pitch. These long, drawn out rehabs are pointless, especially given some of the surgical techniques we have. Garrett Cole is better than a year out from his Tommy John. It has an internal brace. Internal brace, when we use it on the thumb, there are a lot of players that have had it. Mike Trout had it. Dustin Pedroia had it. Chris Paul had it in the NBA. It cut the time to come back from 3 months to a month. And even that, you could probably go a little bit quicker. ACLs with internal brace are coming back in 6 months, not a year. Ankles in European soccer are coming back in 3 months, not 9 months. Why is it taking longer for elbows? It's because baseball is risk averse. Garrett Cole looked great in spring training. There is absolutely no reason, I'm sure Orioles fans don't agree with this, but there's absolutely no reason he shouldn't be out there. And the difference between 5 starts from him or 5 starts from Will Warren or Luis Heel, there's a reason Garrett Cole is Garrett Cole. He is simply better than those guys, and they'd probably agree. If the difference between the Yankees making the playoffs and not making the playoffs is one game, it's that decision they made in March, not the one that happened in October.
Well, Zach, it could be good or bad news for you.
I think Garrett Cole should sit out the rest of the year. Just play it safe. Sit out the rest of the year. Let's try again in 2027.
That to be determined what's going to happen here. Hey, Will, I always love the insight, and even Brooks was loving it. He was loving the interview, but as a pitcher, you had Brooks until about the pitcher's fielding comment. Brooks, I mean, pitchers are athletes. I've said this before.
They are.
All right.
And they're more athletic now than ever. But that might be the problem. One of the things I was talking to with a biomechanist recently on this idea is that pitchers are so good now at creating force in one plane that they've gotten worse at doing cuts and jumps and things like that. Now, I've got no evidence. It's just a theory, but it's one that makes sense.
Well, it's interesting. That is interesting. Brooks, you can wear that one for a little bit longer and let us know. But overall, Will, love the insight. I could talk to you on the ins and outs of injuries all day long. But if I'm not talking to you, I can hear you on injury territory, and you have Under the Knife. But can you let people know the cadence of both if they're interested to hear you there and for all the content and news that you're putting out?
Yeah, absolutely. Injury territory is 3 times a week. Under the Knife is usually 3 to 4 times a week. But if the big injury happens, I jump in on those. You kind of sometimes have to wait and see. Do I want to jump in and say Zach Eflin's heading for Tommy John? No, I'd rather have facts. I don't always rush to be the first. I want to be the one who explains it, lets you know. Sometimes it's bad news. Sometimes I'm a happy little Grim Reaper. Sometimes it's good news. Often guys do come back. They come back better. And some of these new techniques, if you listen to the most recent injury territory, the Orioles are one of the most advanced teams using a new technique called blood flow restriction. And that could help young pitchers, old pitchers, rehabbing pitchers. So they might be on the cutting edge of this. And if you're interested, go download Injury Territory or check it out on YouTube.
Well, perfect. Well, Will, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. You have a great rest of your week. And there will be more injuries throughout the year, so I know
hope we don't talk
seeing you soon. Yeah.
I hope we don't talk soon, but talk soon.
Okay, deal on that. Thanks, Will. Well, Carroll, everybody. The injury experts, I love it, but I also don't at the same time.
Say, I have a very love-hate relationship with it because they always nail it. And they know so much what they're talking about. But then I'm like, it's never good news. Like, they're always right. They always get it right. But I'm like, could we say he's going to be fine? Like, maybe we just try something. Maybe we just say he's going to be fine. But love these conversations. Every time, they're some of my favorite conversations with Will, with Yoni. This is the information that there's so much. And it's just such a fascinating aspect of the game because he's right. It's something that we've talked about, one with Yoni, but we've talked with pitchers about this. And it's like, hey, you have to build up. It can't be just throwing 100 to throw 100, and I'm talking pitches, like he said, not throwing 100 miles an hour. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to throw 100 miles an hour or 100 pitches today so I can go throw 100 pitches tomorrow. It's such a fascinating aspect to sports. And then the stuff that I will never fully grasp, where it's like, well, yeah, because you had left hip pain over time, that's actually making it to your right elbow. And it's like, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, it doesn't to me, but I'm going to take your word for it. The body is just incredible. It really is.
The body is. And
Buys a temple.
the B is a T. But overall, bodies move in different ways. And for a lot of players, you got to find out how your body moves the best. And hopefully it can put you in a place to have some success. That was pretty good. I'm proud of myself on that one. But if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live Monday through Friday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. And then you can listen on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast after the show. But do us a favor. Leave a review. Leave a rating. It helps us get better. We appreciate you guys. And before now, we're going to jump into this Orioles Rangers series. We know a lot of people, you're supposed to be working, but you were probably watching the Orioles Rangers game if you were wondering.
Maybe
or you're
even
watching
on in the background.
Show. Yeah, just
background music noise.
Background noise. Yeah, but you might have some background music if there was a home run.
Yeah.
A little bit of action going on. There's a lot of action. We'll get to that in just a second. Maybe, Zach, why don't we go from one stream to this stream? That's AutoStream Car Care Center right there. Look, we all have car issues. There's 10 locations throughout Maryland for now. And AutoStream Car Care Center, if you go to any location, any service, and I mean any, you get $50 off just by mentioning the name Ryan Ripken. We're all about people helping people, because just like with injuries, it's not a matter of if with your car, it's when. And when you have an issue, go to AutoStream Car Care Center and use my name and get $50 off. So from that stream back to this stream, Zach, here's the deal. The Orioles are 2 series through. They're 3-3. They avoided getting swept. And what's my motto when it comes to
win series? Don't get swept.
So they didn't win a series, but they didn't get swept. And it was a tough first 2 games where pitching didn't go deep and the offense took a little bit longer to get going in game 2. But in game 3, Zach, the offense was humming. And the young birds, it was great to see Sammy Basayo, Dylan Beavers leaving the yard for the first time this year. The offense as a whole was doing a lot of great things. And you mentioned to me before the show, the home run's cool. That's the sexy thing. Who doesn't love the big ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the old phrase was what? Chicks dig the long ball.
Chicks dig the long ball, not the 3-0 fake bunt.
That's 3-0 fake bunt. No, well, that's not sexy.
No,
that used to piss me the hell off. That's a whole different conversation. But this offense, you mentioned it before. The home runs were great, but it was the other ways that they were able to manufacture and make some things happen that got you all giddy.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. We can talk about, yes, Samuel Basayo, 437 dead center. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, hate to be this way, Sammy, but we're expecting that from you. You have the talent to do that. Dylan Beavers gets a hold of one. You're expecting him to do that. But it's the little things that I've really liked about the Orioles, not only just today, but over the past few games, even when the offense was struggling. Last night I talked about, I was like, this team is about to put up a big spot again today. I predicted 7 runs. They overachieved for 8, but you could feel it starting to click a little bit. And it starts up top with Taylor Ward. And something that we talked about so much over the offseason was, hey, the Orioles added 229 RBIs to this lineup between Pete Alonso and Taylor Ward. Driving in runs is not as simple as guy gets on base. Okay, I just need a hit. It's how can you get him in without getting a hit? And we saw a lot more small ball in creating opportunities today. I'll start off before I get to Ward with Colton Cowser. Kobe Mayo walks. Dylan Beavers gets a single. Now we have first and second on no outs. They bring in a new pitcher. They bring in a lefty. And so you're thinking, okay, Orioles are up 3 runs. How can we extend this lead? Because we've seen the bullpen struggle. So how can we extend this lead? Colton Cowser, lefty on lefty. This is a guy who was runner-up in Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. He's got pop, and he's swinging a good bat right now. Had 3 hard-hit balls yesterday, even though 2 of them were caught in the gap. Lays down a bunt. Almost beats it out, but lays down a sacrifice bunt. We know it's a sacrifice bunt because he showed early on back-to-back pitches. gives himself up. Then all of a sudden, Tavares walks, Jeremiah Jackson gets a single. Okay, so it worked. You get the guys over, now you're getting them in. Now you have bases loaded again, and you're thinking, okay, Taylor Ward's up. What's something? Everyone's like, oh, you need a hit here. You need a hit here. You do not need hits. How many times have we said, Ryan? You don't need to get a hit to drive in runs. That's part of the art of driving in runs, is knowing that you didn't. You tell the story all the time. Carlos Lee, hey, guy on third base, less than 2 outs. I'm trying to hit a ground ball to the shortstop, get that guy in. Taylor Ward gets a pitch, fly ball opposite field, deep enough to right field, gets the guy in. It's little things like that. Yes, this was a blowout game. Ends up being a 5-run game. Orioles win 8-3. But there are going to be moments where that can be the go-ahead run. There will be moments where Colton Cowser, and not just Colton Cowser, anyone in this lineup is going to have to lay down a sacrifice bunt for the bigger cause of we need to win this game. It's bigger than statistics. Get that bunt in, get those guys over, and then get them in. That's what I've been really enjoying from this offense. It's been a breath of fresh air of these guys are willing to give themselves up, are willing to, hey, I'm not going to swing out of my shoes here. I know we just need a single. I know we just need a fly ball to get them in, and they've done that multiple times. Jeremiah Jackson as well, his first at bat, guy on third, less than 2 outs. Hey, made some good contact, but fly ball to center field, that's going to get her in. Just make contact, put the ball in play, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, good things are going to happen, and situational hitting, you do that, then great things can happen. The Orioles won today in the finale 8-3. Zach, 4 of those RBIs came with 2 outs. Taylor Ward had 1, Luis Tavares had 2, and Beavers had 1. You win the game 8-3. You can go back to when the Orioles beat the Twins on Sunday. I mentioned it before. I'll say it again. They won 8-6. There was only 2 RBIs on the day with 2 outs from either side, and it was Dylan Beavers' 2-strike, 2-out double down the line. It ends up being the difference. So when you're looking at wins and losses here, the little things that you talked about matter, and also in the crunch time moments where maybe back's against the wall or you need that extra hit with 2 down, that can be the difference in the game. And look, the offense is starting to get going. Taylor Ward, 4-hit game in game 2 of the series, 2 hits in the finale. The dude is starting to feel good. And I love the fact that, hey, Gunnar looked like he was getting going, and then he had a cold final day. But that's all right. Pete Alonso has been steady. Sam Basayo looks comfortable. And Dylan Beavers, man, I tell you what, love seeing the Beav show do his thing. There's so many encouraging parts, and Colton Cowser, I think, is one of the best stories with this Orioles offense to start off, of just how comfortable and willing he is to do some things. And if Colton can get comfortable in that role, especially hitting anywhere from the 6 to 9 spot, man, that's going to be really helpful for this ball club as they move forward. And Trevor Rogers, well, look, he didn't have any shutouts this time, but he went 6 innings, Zach. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. That's a quality start. That gives your team a chance to win. Now, Trevor Rogers is 2-0. His ERA jumped up to 1.38. Gosh, I hope that's going to be good enough.
And, I mean, when you look at it, it's so funny. Trevor Rogers is so fun to watch because he had an atrocious 4th inning. He threw more pitches in the 4th inning than he threw in the first 3 combined. Threw 31 pitches in the first 3, then got up to like 34, 35 in the 4th inning. But it was 4 singles in a row that got him. And one was 68 miles an hour. One was 80 miles an hour. One was a chopper up the middle. Actually, one that was hit 101 off the bat had a .180 expected batting average because it was a dribbler that, if you're not in the shift, gets out. That was his bad inning. 4 weakly contacted balls that found the outfield grass. Two jam shots. And it's like, yeah, he finds ways out of this. But even when you feel like, oh, he's not firing on all cylinders, he does this. I was going through some old tweets, and I found one from last year where I said Trevor Rogers did not have his stuff today. Just didn't have it. You could tell he was off from the first pitch. Goes 7 innings, 1 run. Like, even when he's not He's not a guy that's going to throw 101. He's not going to look like Tarek Skubal, where guys are going up there and you're like, man, he is dominating them every which way. He's a guy that when you watch him pitch, it's okay, here's 2 more first pitch pop-ups. Okay, here's a weak ground ball to the shortstop. Might not always be the sexy stat line, but he's a guy when he goes out there, like you said, ERA up to 1.35. He is a treat to watch every 5th day.
And here's one more thing I want to touch on with this. Trevor Rogers and any pitcher is going to tell you this. You are not going to have your stuff. If you get 30 starts in a season, you're hoping, and I mean, this is best case scenario where you're going, I hope I have my A stuff for 10 of those outings. And that's being generous, that you hope that 10 of those games, you have your A+ stuff. But realistically, Zach, if you can get in that 5 to 7 range of A+, okay. I think that's more reasonable to say that I felt sharp. I felt unbelievable. The other mix and match of the games are your B, C, and whatever else you want to consider it, where you're just like, damn, I got to just find a damn way. With Trevor, I don't know how to categorize his first game. It wasn't his A stuff, though. So it falls into that category of that B, C, or whatever you want to consider it. And yet, what makes the great pitchers, or I should say the elite pitchers, elite, is you find your way to get the job done when you don't have it that day, where control can be off, or you get in trouble, you bear down and get out of it. So for 2 starts now, Trevor Rogers, to me, this was not his A stuff. And yet the Orioles got A results, winning both, 0 runs the first game, 2 the last, and the Orioles are off to a solid start. And Trevor Rogers is off to an extremely promising start off of his great year last year. We'll continue to talk about here with the Orioles a little bit more. For the, what was I going to go with here? Want to touch real quickly on, since we had Matt McCrane in the UFL, I want to shout out the UFL. They just kicked off their season last week. So they're back. And if you want to see them in action in the region, the DC Defenders have their home opener on March 11th down at the Audi Field in DC. Matt McCrane became the first kicker in UFL history to nail a 4-pointer. And it was good from about 70. But we're going to have more and more of those guests on, and the games will be run on ESPN, Fox. And if you're looking for tickets, get your tickets at theufl.com and Ticketmaster. But appreciate the UFL, and we will be down there when there's a certain team that comes to town, let's say in May, Zach, where the whole coaching staff has a pretty strong tie to the city of Baltimore. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate the UFL. Now back to a little bit more of this conversation. Now, with all the good that we just talked about with Trevor Rogers and the good that we've seen with his offense, we should talk about maybe what is one of the issues that has been the most discussed throughout the first 6 games. And I want to preface this. This doesn't mean this is going to be the glaring weakness moving forward. But for right now, this is the one part of the team that has drawn the most conversation. Zach, where am I going with this?
The bullpen.
The bullpen. So through the first 6 games and going into the year, you felt pretty good about your starting rotation. And for the most part, Zach, rotation I think has been solid.
Yeah.
Can be better. No doubt. But Chris Bassett, not a great first outing that he wanted. Couldn't get through 5. I'm not going to count anything with Zach Eflin because that's an injury. Can't hold that against him. It happened. And then Shane Baz was able to battle back and still get you through 5 to give your team and your bullpen a chance. But the bullpen, because of the situations, Zach, has been used. And unfortunately for them, part of them have been overused and part of them have been unable to execute the way that they want. Mm-hmm. And so if we want to go back to game 2 of the season, Kyle Bradish, thought he pitched solid. Higher pitch count. They got him out in the 5th. The bullpen couldn't do enough to keep the Orioles in the game. The offense was shut down. That's so what? Now, game 4, they looked a little bit more like, all right, they're wearing a little bit, and you know what? They feel a little exposed. They got lit up a little bit in game 1. Yesterday, when Zach Eflin was knocked out, they were definitely more fatigued. But regardless, Zach, they struggled.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. The one thing I want to preface, Grant Wolfram, that is a really brutal position to be in, to say you're not expected to, you're not getting loose, you think, until the 6th at that rate of what Zach Eflin was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting thrown right into the lion's den. And I thought Grant Wolfram had been great so far this season prior to that. But that is still the biggest question mark, Zach, moving forward. And you just mentioned we do have some updates with Andrew Kittredge. There are some of these, the bigger arms on deck. And what, Kittredge just started the rehab program, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so Andrew Kittredge pitched today at Norfolk, got through 2/3 of an inning, had 19 pitches. He gave up, I believe, 1 run, 2 hits, and had a strikeout. So I wouldn't say he's close at all, but I think definitely within the next week or so we see him back. That's going to be nice. We'll see what happens with Keegan Aiken. Not really sure his timeline right now, but shout out today to Suarez. I mean, same type of situation. Obviously, you knew that he was going to be, Big Al was going to be the first guy called if something happened in the bullpen. He gets the call because of Eflin to come up and help the bullpen out. And today was massive for him. And not only for him, but for the rest of the team, because you have the off day tomorrow. For him to finish out the final 3 innings and give you guys the opportunity to have another fresh day. That's now 2 full days without having to use anyone else in the bullpen. I think it's going to do wonders for them because, as you said, they had been getting used a lot when you went from Bradish to Boz to Bassett to Eflin, all having shorter stints. So they definitely looked fatigued, and I think it all came to fruition yesterday when Geraldo looked like he had no confidence out there. I think he's probably the next guy that goes down when Kittredge comes back. But overall, I think there are some positives, but yeah, definitely I think the biggest thing is these starters need to go deeper for this bullpen to get the most out of this bullpen, because we knew going in this was going to be a weak spot for the team. But then again, I don't think any fan base or any team is truly feeling fantastic about their bullpen ever.
Yeah.
You feel like you're always, if you ask any fan, like, oh, what's the base weakness? They're always like, oh, the bullpen. Oh, it's the bullpen. It's the bullpen. You might love your closer, but they always hate the bullpen. It's always the way it is. So you need your starters to help out with that. I think as they get rested up, hopefully against the Pirates, you can see them. We can see starters like Bradish, Boz, and Bassett, who will be the 3 going. If we can get them all past the 5th, I think they're going to be set up for a lot of success. Only a few games in, but I definitely think that this was something where if you knew what was happening going into the season, you knew this was a possibility for the bullpen, as they were going with a lot more StatCast guys with potential. And then you lose Kittredge and Aiken, who were kind of the guys that you knew you could pencil in as, hey, we trust them. You lose those 2 guys, it's even thinner than you thought. And I think you're starting to see that.
And to continue on with that, the first round, this was the first time the starters have gone through now the rotation. Trevor Rogers making his 2nd start of the year. Yeah, when you're able to go 6, 7 innings, it really puts your bullpen in a good spot. And also, Zach, you can then choose your high leverage guy. If you go 7, high leverage for an inning, and then go straight to Helsley as the closer. And Tyler Wells had been that guy, and Wells has been off to a little bit of a slow start. Thought he had some bad luck in the first game, was scratching and clawing then the last couple outings for him. But the bigger part is when you have to use your bullpen more, and that's the bigger part here through this first run. You're talking about of them being exposed. This would be any team's bullpen. If you got to go 5 innings or 4, it's a lot. But when it's not your quote unquote strength And that's what I mentioned. I'm not really worried about that it was the first result for the starters not feeling comfortable. It's more so of reminding you how valuable and important it is for those starters to go deep into the games. It's because you got to protect your arms. They get tired in the bullpen. And above all, you're still trying to figure out who are your big high leverage guys. Because Ryan Helsley is the one specifically you were locked and loaded into that closing spot. You think Tyler Wells could be, but outside of that, Zach, it's still to be determined. I love seeing what Rico Garcia has done. I love seeing what Anthony Nunez has done. But still, that's to be determined as it goes on. But for the Orioles right now, that has been the talking point. And shout out Big Al again, giving you 3 innings. And because Albert went 3 innings, he gets credited with a save.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, you get a save in a game that's within 3, or you pitch 3 innings, you get credited with a save, because this is probably the funniest save in history. The Texas Rangers, going way back for Orioles fans, sorry to bring back a memory, the Rangers won 30-3 in Baltimore, Zach. 30-3. And in that game, the Orioles actually led, I believe, in the 5th inning of that contest. But that's not the funniest part, which is pretty insane when you think of it that way. August 22nd, 2007, the Orioles were winning, 3-0 going into the 4th.
Yeah.
It was a 5-3 game going into the 6th in favor of Texas. And the Orioles gave up 25 runs over the final 4 innings. And the Rangers, it was Wes Littleton, got the save for the Texas Rangers in a 30-3 victory. How about that?
Yeah. You know,
how about that?
that was a game. That was a game that was played. That's for sure.
Yeah. Good times. Dave Tremblay also just got announced as the full manager for that one. Hey, congrats, Dave.
Yeah.
30-3. Woof, woof.
Probably not the way he thought it was going to start out, if I had to predict.
Mm-hmm. You know what? When I wake up in the morning, I go, how do I get the shit kicked out of me? That's that personally.
How can
I
we give
think
up
about
30
it.
runs today?
Yeah. You know, if you had it that way, if thinking so negative, I guess things would be better for you. I don't know.
Maybe.
But that's just terrible.
Mission accomplished, the historic game.
Yeah.
Like, let's make history tonight.
Yeah. Good times.
GTs.
The other point, just a side note, was the defensive structure. And that part for me, you got some guys out of place right now. When Jackson Holiday comes back, he's going to be playing second. I think Blaze Alexander, to be honest, Zach, is going to continue to get more and more opportunity to be used around the field. Of the outfield positions, it's still of the positioning, it's the outfield positions that they're still trying to figure out and put together. I think that really is the main thing, if I'm being honest. And today we saw Cowser back, we saw Beavers, I believe. Yeah,
Beavers in left, Tavares in center.
Yep.
Cowser in right.
And I think Tavares, if right now they feel, they're not going to say it out loud, but I think Tavares has the most experience. So I think that's fair to say. He has the most experience being out there. But they are still trying to figure that part out. Between Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill, Cowser, Beavers, and Tavares, it's going to take some time to try to figure out who you want to have out there, because Taylor Ward's even said about him getting used to things over there, and he's not known to be the defensive powerhouse. Tyler O'Neill, same thing. But Cowser and Beavers, I think, have a lot of great potential, but it's just about trying to get comfortable. And the infield, Jackson Holiday's back. It's going to be Gunnar, Jackson, Pete for the most part at first. And I still think Kobe's going to get a lot of run over there. And for an Orioles fan, I think you have to be overall pretty happy with what you've seen over there, especially from going into the season, Zach. I heard Kobe Mayo couldn't play. Could not pick up a glove or make a throw with how it was talked about.
Sucks. Guy's just a nobody over at third, right? It's pretty much like having no one playing there. Kobe Mayo, and I do want to say, obviously, Kobe Mayo, I think, is doing really well playing the position third base. If you look at his stats, if you just box score watch, you're like, man, he's struggling at the plate. He's on it. He's having some good at bats. He's got some unlucky hits. He's not finishing at bats the way he would want to, but I'm actually not concerned. I'm pretty impressed with how Kobe, he looks a million times better than he did in his struggles last year. So I think we're going to have to give this time. It will be interesting once Jackson's back, because we talk about this. I don't know who they send down right now. Is it Jeremiah Jackson? Is it, I don't think you're getting rid of Blaze. I don't think they get rid of Leody Taveras. So it's going to maybe be a Jackson or Jeremiah Jackson or maybe Beavers. Like, I don't know where they go with that. If they're thinking, okay, we'll put Beavers down because we can have Jeremiah Jackson and Blaze each kind of take some outfield if needed. We'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be really intriguing to see what happens when Jackson is back. I saw he got 2 more hits today. We'll see what the roster move is when that occurs.
Could be a Jackson swap. Regardless, you're seeing that you're going to need your guys. You're going to need your depth. And the other name that we haven't mentioned, because it's on the position or the pitcher side, feels like we're going to see Dean Kramer. Feels like we're going to see Dean Kramer here at some point, because they're going to need that position specifically. But time will tell if and when that happens here. The off days could help the Orioles, so they don't need necessarily to have the 5 guy or add in another starter. But it feels like that would be the inevitable situation as we find out more information on Zach Eflin. And if it comes to the elbow, best case scenario, Zach, I still have a hard time seeing Zach Eflin returning anytime that quickly.
Which is just so unfortunate.
Yeah, dude, I hate it for Eflin. I said it last night on social media. When you work your ass off to get back, and the time and effort that you put in to be in a position and you're doing all the right things, to see someone have that be the situation on your first start of the year, it's a tough pill to swallow. It is. And so I hope the best for him, because I really thought a healthy Zach Eflin would have been one of the best value pieces here for the Orioles and everyone. But for now, they're not the only team. As we mentioned earlier, Cody Pons, he had his knees probably going to be done for the year. So it's a sprained knee. He's probably, like Will was saying, good chance, significant time, but more than likely he might miss the year.
Yeah, which is just super frustrating. I can only imagine for him going overseas, kind of reinventing yourself as a pitcher, getting the opportunity to come back, cashing in on a nice contract. And then, I mean, you saw him before the game, taking in the moment, realizing he's back on the stage he's been fighting to get back to. And then for it to all kind of go up like that, I can't imagine what's going through his mind, but hopefully a speedy recovery, hopefully for his sake that they can see him on the field at some point this year, even though I don't think it's likely. Just really, I can't even imagine the frustrations going through his head.
Yeah, and he's a pro's pro. He understands. And he'll do what he can to help and get back. But for now, you keep moving. For the Birds, they're 3-3. And the rest of Major League Baseball, they're going to try to stack up more wins. And actually, if I'm not mistaken now, Zach, speaking of MLB, every team in MLB has a win on the season now. There's no winless team. The A's are sitting at 1-5, which is a worst in baseball. It's also, by the way, the A's, everyone thinks they'd be a dark horse. They thought they were going to be a dark horse last year, dark horse this year. They're off to a tough start. But it's an early part of the year. A lot of baseball left to be played. But you don't want to get in a hole if you can avoid it. Just continue to tread water. And for the Orioles, they're treading water. They're going to go face the Pittsburgh Pirates in their home opener. And then hopefully after that, they'll start to have some normalcy in their schedule. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Brian Ripken Show, we do this Monday through Friday right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Zach, you want to answer our little poll talk?
Let's do it.
All right, what do we have on the poll talk results for today?
So for the poll today, we had 75 votes. Thank you for voting as you come in. If you haven't voted, I would do it in the next about 10 seconds, 5 seconds before I read off the results. But So for today's poll, it was, should umpires go fully to robots? This is because of everything happening with, we're forgetting how many pitches have been thrown. We're not getting it right when a guy clearly steps on first. It's the ABS system. It's how far can we get? So through 75 votes, 49% have voted no. 28% have voted yes, and 22 voted not sure yet.
Not going full robot.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I love. You know what? As much as they mess up, it is great content. It has people talking when there's the human errors. Not when it hurts your team, but it is. The whole umpire situation we started off with today. People were talking about it.
I saw someone tweet out that this is how challenge system is ruining baseball, because they said the CB Buckner play yesterday should have been something that we all talked about for years and hated him for, and now it's just overturned in a few seconds. So it definitely has changed the game. It definitely has changed the way the game is played. But you need the human element, and also I'll be the guy to say it. I enjoy the human element about it, but I also don't need how long is it going to take for us to get each pitch? What was it? Are we getting like throw the pitch, everyone look up here, we're going to figure out what the pitch is? Like, I just don't see how we're going to a human element. I think it's going well how they have it set up right now. I think ABS so far has been a resounding success. We had our first challenge off by the Baltimore Orioles today, ended today's game on a successful ABS challenge strikeout. So got that out of the way. But yeah, I just can't see us going full robots. I don't like it. It's not part of the game.
No full bots.
No.
We already have enough bots out there. We don't need full bots here. Also, side note, some other Major League notes that I wanted to discuss. Did you see what the Marlins and Sandy Alcantara just did down there?
9 shutty.
Sandy Alcantara. He 93 pitches,
Maybe
shutout.
He's still good.
I think there's a reason why they wanted to hold on to him if it wasn't for getting the exact King's ransom that they wanted. Telling you, man, this could be the year for Sandy to prove to people he's back to being that top end guy. I'm going to be curious to watch it, but great outing for him. That was really the big, conversation point that I saw around MLB. I saw what Brooks has talked about. I have been watching the Yankees. The Yankees have been.
They've only allowed 3 runs this year.
Dude, their pitching staff is so damn good. It's so damn good. Max Fried, stud. Will Warren, he's got great stuff. Cam, upside stud. Luis Hill, upside stud. Garrett Cole comes back, stud. Carlos Rodon, who's still not going to be back yet. He's really good when he's out there. And then I'm a huge Ryan Weathers believer. I love his stuff. Versatile. The Yankees are going to be good, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to like it, but they're going to be good. They got a really good staff that they can build around. So the freaking Yankees, man.
They always find a way.
Not a lot of hate watch for the losses right now.
We'll find them. It'll happen. Don't you worry. That Aaron Boone vintage June through July will happen, where they'll go 18 or 15 and 30. They'll have their classic thing, and everyone wants Boone fired. And we talk about how the Yankees aren't going to make the playoffs and what a collapse they're having and all that. And then they'll be right back in it at the end, and they'll probably be in the ALDS, ALCS, and we'll do the same dance every single time because it's just how the year goes. Yankees always have a 30 to 40 game stretch every year where you go, I don't think the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. I don't think this team's good enough to make the playoffs. And then they find a way. They're a talented team, and this pitching, they keep pitching like this, they ain't going to lose many games.
Other note around Major League Baseball, Gavin Sheets had his first hit.
Oh, there we go.
Proud of him.
I forget who they were facing 2 days ago, but I saw a few pitching ninja things, and I saw one where it was like disgusting. Yeah, it was like disgusting slider to get the K, and I was like, who's he? Oh, I was like, tough.
They got to give him his best stuff. They got to give their best stuff to get Derry Bonds out there. So I get it. It makes sense. some other notes around baseball and around just sports. And as we get close to wrapping up here, and again, at the bottom, you can see the UFL. It's back. You get your tickets at the UFL.com and at Ticketmaster. DC Defenders home game is April 11th, the following Saturday. So get your tickets now. We'll have another guest on potentially tomorrow. So stay tuned. But Zach, other news, speaking actually of football, let me start there before the MLB notes. You did mention the Ravens are going to Brazil. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I still am not seeing a lot of it.
Week 3, it's official. It looks like the Ravens will be playing the Cowboys in Brazil. It will be a home game for the Cowboys, which is nice because I absolutely hate when that teams lose home games to go elsewhere. So if the Ravens are going to do it, I'd rather us be the away team. So I'm glad that's at least it appears to be the case, or I think it's guaranteed to be the case. So Ravens week 3 will be playing in Brazil. We'll say. I hate the whole international thing.
It's a road game technically, though, for them, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I still just overall hate the.
So we're not going to Brazil?
No, I don't. It's like dangerous there. It's like, aren't they? Wasn't that a big thing last year when the Packers and Eagles went there, where they were like, because they're so. Like you couldn't wear certain colors there because of like how much they love soccer, like their rival wore certain colors and it's like banned in the stadium and they had to like take a 1-day ban off the stadium because both teams wear green. It's like, Brazil.
And people think that fans get crazy over here. I don't know of all the full tales there, but I know people love their football around the world. That's for damn sure. Other notes then around sports, Zach, that I saw on the baseball side. Jose Fernandez becomes the 7th player since 1901 to hit 2 homers in his MLB debut, with one of them coming off of Kenley Jansen in the 8th inning to give the D-backs the lead. That's amazing.
That
Good
name,
for him.
I had to double take each time I've seen that name, though. I will say that.
I know.
Jose, I keep on going. I'm like, what? So, gosh, that's still one of the saddest stories we've had. Yeah. But yeah, Diamondbacks, Jose Fernandez. Good start.
And because it is April Fool's Day, then are there any of those fake April Fools that you've seen out there?
I woke up and fell for Marlon Humphrey getting released. Yeah. I did hand up. It was like the first thing I saw when my eyes opened and I'm sitting there. I was like, it's too early for this. Because then I started scrambling because I saw it was like posted like 5 minutes prior. So then I'm like looking for Kevin to confirm. Then I'm like looking at all these places and I'm like, it's April 1st, isn't it? Like it hit me as I was searching Marlon Humphrey and I'm like, no one else is talking about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I hate that stuff.
I saw on another one that had, I think Underdog put it out. It was the Cowboys win the championship and it said April Fools. I got a chuckle out of that. The Gerry Sandusky Ravens, him announcing his retirement as the voice of the Ravens, that is not an April Fool's joke. Want to reiterate. I thought it was, but it's not.
Wish it was.
Yeah.
Shout out Gerry though.
Any other April Fools that stuck out to you? I think I saw British Raven did say that Daniel Falele signed with the Ravens.
It's not funny. It's not funny at all. I don't appreciate those jokes.
Are you going to be okay now?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Why isn't he in New York? I was told by John Harbaugh how great he was all season. Just surprising. You know?
There's still time.
Oh, actually, speaking of the Giants, Isaiah Likely changed to number 9. Don't know if I like that. Don't know if
As
I
a
like
tight
that.
end.
Yeah. And apparently, so everyone I saw a Giants page post it. I think it's like 8 numbers, single-digit numbers are already taken because what's his name already? Abdul Carter changed, then Isaiah Likely changed. They were like the backup quarterback or third-string quarterback is going to have to wear like number 30. they've already given out all the single digit numbers in New York. So yeah, we'll see if number 9 Isaiah Likely. We'll see how he can do.
What's the lowest number a tight end has worn? Is that the lowest? 9?
No, it's got to be Evan Ingram. I think he wears number 1 for Denver.
Oh, okay. Never mind. There it is. Whoop. There it is. Well, Whoop, I think
he does, because it pisses me off, because I always thought it was a wide receiver. Because I would always think it was Cortland Sutton, because Cortland Sutton wears 11, right? Am I thinking
14?
14. So I would see the 1 from a big body, and I'd go up, I'd be like, boom, there's Cortland Sutton yards, or there's a touchdown for the fantasy, and then you're like, Evan Ingram wears number 1. It just got me every time.
And we're already in the fantasy football talk already. Could you imagine as we get closer? We will have more draft coverage as we get into the next couple weeks, because the NFL draft is close. So that's something to look forward to. And we are going to continue to have a Rolodex of guests in the baseball world, and just great guests when things happen. We had Ian Eagle on yesterday talking about March Madness, and Ian is always amazing to listen to. He was on the call. He'll be on the call in the Final Four. And we got a lot more tricks up our sleeve. But one more time before we get on out of here, if you're going from one stream to another, go to AutoStream Car Care Center, $50 off any service, just mentioning the name Ryan Ripken, and you get $50 off any service. And stay tuned on Friday. You're always getting a new video of yours truly making a fool of himself. What were you oohing and ahhing over?
Just because I saw a tweet, and this is why I love the people of Twitter, because I don't know if you saw, but the Orioles, I believe, it was like 7 of 8 or 6 of 7 to start the year catchers getting a correct challenge. They're saying the ABS system stands for the Adley Basayo system.
Wow.
Oof.
Well, they have been on it. And today, Sammy B, he did the tap, ended the game, and the Orioles salvage a series and move to 3-3. Tomorrow we'll be back doing the same thing. Zach, am I missing anything before we get on out of here?
KZR, actually, it's just going to be as soon as we wrap up here. It's just that we're not going to go 5 o'clock. It's just once we go there, you guys meet me over there, and we'll be talking about the Orioles game.
Which song should I sing tomorrow?
Who's the breakdown?
Well, the breakdown, we were rocking Yellow Card.
Well, no,
Ocean
but I'm
Avenue.
saying, who is the breakdown? Because I feel like that.
If
Are you talking
I
about the
could
breakdown
find
song?
You now, what?
Yeah. No, I know
Yeah,
Ocean Avenue, but I'm saying you asked for the song for tomorrow. So what song who are we breaking down tomorrow? Because that has to set the vibe.
The player shouldn't dictate the song. It's
I think sometimes it should, though.
So who should I break down tomorrow, Zach?
I don't know, but I'm just thinking, I'm like, if we're breaking down like Jeremiah Jackson, I don't get like heavy rock from him.
So what do you get from him?
I don't know. Maybe some house
music.
music.
Send him a message
I could see Jeremiah Jackson rocking to some house music. I don't know why.
I could see that. Do we rock with Outkast? Because, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Oh,
I am for real. But I'd have to like get into Forever, Ever. Ever. Maybe. Maybe I'll play Katy Perry. Maybe I'll play JoJo. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Oh, it's just too little, too late, a little too wrong. And I can't wait. Wait. Maybe Taylor Ward.
I was just going to say, I think Taylor Ward's a good one. He's been doing a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, he could. Hey, and shout out Rick last night. We got a hot pick. I think Rick posted that on X. It's crazy. Actually, I want to pull Ollie. Ollie loved the photo. We had to take a couple photos, though, because Rick said it didn't look good in one of the photos, So we had to retake it.
I love that, Rick.
Yeah. He might have said he didn't like it, but I took it as he didn't like the photo of me. But I got to say, it's a pretty hot pick, if I don't mind saying so myself. And I got to say, the sky here, Zach, I'll pull it up for you. The sky here looks pretty good. Let's find it. I was about to sing a different song. So Taylor Ward, that's a good one for tomorrow. I like that one. I like that a lot. Rick, good choice. And I'm going to share this photo, and then we'll get on out of here. I can't. Pull it up. There it is. Hold on. Rick was saying he didn't look good. Rick looked good. I know it wasn't me, but I thought Rick looked good. I told Rick he looked good. That's what I told him. Here it is. Here's the hot pick. You ready for it, Zach?
Let's see it.
Hot pick. Look at that. It's crazy. Like,
incredible.
We're the same height. Rick got the cool shades. I didn't. The clouds in the back, that was outside of Pickles. You see that?
Yeah.
Got to say, the camera, Rick.
That is a really nice pick.
It's a really, the picturesque, really good.
This taking on an iPhone?
Maybe. Cool. Well, iPhones are superior. We did talk about this.
They are, so that's why I was saying it.
Yeah. Next time, Rick and I are going to wear the same shades. We're going to rock it out. All right. We're styling on and we're styling out.
Yeah, we got an iPhone.
Should we do it?
We got an iPhone. I just
had
to
cue the music, Pep. Oh, lost my phone. As always here at the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day. Have a night. Have a great stinking rest of your Wednesday and come back and join us tomorrow. We'll be live right here, Ryan Ripken Show on YouTube, X, and Facebook. KCR is next.